this episode, we get our shipping container delivered to the land, finally giving us a place to store all of our tools while the house is under construction. We start testing out some of our new gear and fire up our chainsaws, taking down our very first 100-foot pine trees. The machines are here, the tools are out, and the real work begins. If you're new here, we're Alicia and Shad. We spent the last 3 years traveling across the country looking for land until we found our 15 acres surrounded by big, beautiful longleaf pines. Now we're learning as we go. We bought our own equipment to shape our trails, clear land, and build everything from a workshop to mountain biking paths, a frisbee golf course, and more. Step by step, we're turning this land into something we can truly live and grow in, starting with a place to put our tools. We bought this shipping container because, honestly, we were running out of options. At the time, every tool we owned, chainsaws, fuel, straps, buckets, was just being stored in the back of Shad's truck. It was messy, it wasn't secure, and it definitely wasn't sustainable. We needed something on the land, something weatherproof, lockable, and a place we could keep our tools safe and actually organized while the house is being built.
It's pretty cool that it's remote controlled.
Between the big machines and the loud noises, Remy made one thing clear. He'd be supervising this one from the truck. They delivered the container onto our house pad, but we needed it in our dedicated work area, so Shad jumped into the excavator and started dragging it over to the area that we've cleared out as our temporary workstation and hopefully one day future tennis court. This is where we plan to tackle most of our summer projects, so having the container over in this section, out of the way from construction of our house, was our goal. Eventually, we plan to build a separate workshop for Shad next to our house, but until then, having this container gives us a great place to store all of our tools and equipment, even after we move into our home. It might be a while before the workshop gets built, so we wanted something that could stick around for a bit without being an eyesore. That's why we made sure to choose a neutral color, something that would blend in and not stick out like a sore thumb on the property. Shad used the skid steer to level out a section of the workstation area. We wanted a flat, stable spot where the container could sit without shifting over time. Once it was leveled, the goal was to get the container tucked right into that space. With the container now in the workstation area, Shad used his skid steer to push the container into the leveled section that he prepared. From there, he started lifting each end just slightly to tuck in extra dirt under the low spots. That way, once it was fully in place, we can make sure that it was actually sitting level, ready to safely store all of our tools and equipment. Once the container was finally in place and leveled, it felt like a huge step forward, having a real spot on the land to store everything safely. It's nothing fancy, but having this kind of secure storage has already made a huge difference. We started moving in our tools bit by bit, and at first it was pretty empty, but just having a roof over our gear felt like progress. Remy, of course, wasn't so sure. Loud sounds, metal walls, no thanks for him.
Come here, Remy. Good boy.
I'm so afraid of it.
Remy, come on. Good boy.
To make the space more usable, we picked up a few magnetic hooks so we could start getting things off the ground. We've been hanging tools along the wall, and it's honestly been one of the easiest and most helpful upgrades so far. We also grabbed some basic shelving from Lowe's, nothing special, just enough to keep things a little bit more organized. And now it's slowly starting to fill up. We've got shovels, rakes, chainsaws, mostly tools that we'll be using on a daily basis. And honestly, we've been loving the EGO brand lately since the batteries all work together across all their tools, which makes it a lot easier when you're bouncing between projects. It's definitely not the most organized space yet, but a whole heck of a lot better than all of our tools being scattered across Shad's truck. And as you saw in our last video, it's the perfect place for our 55-gallon diesel barrel, so we can just leave it at the opening of our container and fuel up our machines when we need it. Now that the container is in place and we have all of our gear ready to go, it was time to start tackling some of the debris around the property. And as embarrassing as it is to admit, I have never actually used a chainsaw before, so Shad gave me a quick lesson. And as excited as I was to try, I'll be the first to admit it actually kind of intimidated me at first.
Ooh, that one wasn't easy.
Yep, now you can kick that out of the way, that top piece, so it doesn't hit your saw. And now cut that under one. Yeah.
I've never felt more
Yeah.
After playing around with our new chainsaws and getting a feel for the tools, it was time to tackle the big stuff. Scattered across the property, we've got plenty of downed trees and debris, but we also have several dead pine trees that are still standing, and some of these are well over 100 feet tall. Rather than waiting for them to fall on their own and possibly in the wrong direction, we decided to be proactive and start taking them down ourselves. Shad's first attempt at this was to use the excavator with the mulching head attachment to try to weaken the base of the tree and give it a little push over. As you can see, this wasn't quite working, so it was time to bring out the big chainsaws. You might not believe me, but this was actually Shad's first time taking down a tree this size. He jumped right in like a pro, started with a V-cut to guide the fall, then trimmed the other side to weaken it before giving it a final push. And don't worry, I wasn't standing there. I was safely behind the pines. That was just my poor camera getting launched by the roots of another tree that the pine took out on its way down. Right next to the first one was its dead buddy, another pine tree that unfortunately had to come down. Same game plan, notch it with the chainsaw, weaken the base, and let the excavator do the rest.
Well, that's nuts.
Little did we know this was just the first of many trees. There were a lot more dead trees scattered across the land, and taking them down safely is just one part of turning this property into something we can live, work, and play on for years to come.
It's going.
Coming soon, I spent my first real hours in the skid steer, creating a construction road for Shad to get the excavator through. A first look at our plans for our mountain biking trails, including our half pipe. We start marking out the trees that we want to take down to build access roads so we can get down to our creek, and a first look at what it's been like building these roads. So don't forget to subscribe to see what's to come.